What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the MOS Reptiles official YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about a pretty interesting topic. We're going to be talking about morphs and some of the issues that can come with them when they're bred into certain animals. MOS Reptiles, a message of conservation through education. Now there's no question about it, morphs can produce some absolutely gorgeous animals like Sprite, my beautiful hypo leatherback bearded dragon, or maybe even Puzzle, my beautiful banana ball python. But unfortunately, morphs can also come with some negative effects also. For example, the ones we're going to be focusing on today are Enigma, white and yellow syndrome, and the spider wobble in ball pythons. Now, first of all, we're going to talk about Enigma syndrome, and we're going to talk about this beautiful little gecko right here. I don't know if it's, there you go, it'll focus nicely. Alright, so she's a little squirrely, so we're going to put her down. But Enigma syndrome, make sure she doesn't fall off here. Enigma syndrome is a neurological condition, meaning that it affects the brain. So this neurological sort of condition is bred into the animal. It is a morph-produced condition. And the condition can cause different sort of side effects, such as a little head tilt. I don't know if you guys can see her head tilt there. And sort of a loss of some motor skills, which means how they move around and how they perceive their environment. Now, an animal that's unable to perceive its environment and unable to move around, normally isn't really going to be able to perform all natural functions. And that's the most important thing. All animals should be able to perform all of their natural functions that they would normally, sort of use in the wild. Now, a gecko that's going to be all head wobbling and tilting and not being able to move around correctly and hunt properly isn't going to be able to thrive. It's not going to be able to eat. I don't think that, Enigma or spider or any other neurological morph that can potentially endanger the animal or its welfare in any way should be produced in captivity. An animal's life should not be sacrificed for its color or, just for our personal gain. So getting into a little bit of the science behind Enigma syndrome. Leopard geckos possess 19 pairs of chromosomes. Now, each chromosome has 2 alleles, and these alleles are what make up the gecko's both phenotype and genotype. Genotype meaning its genetic makeup, and phenotype meaning its physical appearance. Only one of these alleles has to have the Enigma gene in it in order to affect the gecko. So with those 2 pairs of alleles, only one of them, can affect the gecko. If both of those alleles have the Enigma syndrome, normally the gecko will either be more so affected or same as affected as a normal, any other gecko. The point being that there's a 50-50 chance of a gecko with Enigma syndrome producing that to its offspring. A gecko with Enigma syndrome should never, ever, ever be bred to another gecko. We do not want that trait inside these geckos. It destroys the quality of life of these geckos, and it is not right, and we need to make sure that we are not passing this trait on. Now, these leopard geckos who do have the Enigma syndrome, like I said, you'll see it in our gecko over here. She does that little head tilt. They will stargaze, meaning they'll walk around, again, head tilt, they'll look up, and just other sort of motor skills that just aren't as developed. And these are sort of symptoms of Enigma syndrome. Now, most geckos really won't show Enigma syndrome until they're a little older. For example, my gecko here, I got her as an adoption a couple weeks ago, but the previous owner said that she was bought and she showed no signs whatsoever as, a gecko with Enigma syndrome. The breeder did not specify that, there were any risk of her getting Enigma syndrome. It was just something that appeared as she got older, and after a while, it's very difficult to have to give an animal the special needs that this gecko would need. So, a lot of times you won't know, but please, 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 if you have that knowledge, make sure that you're doing your research and you're buying from breeders who do not have any geckos in their collection that do possess Enigma syndrome. Alrighty, guys, so I am not as knowledgeable in the lemon frost and other geckos that, have this gene, including the white and yellow syndrome, which is a very sort of new thing to the reptile hobby. It's not as well known. but what we do know is that it affects their equilibrium. So it's not like Enigma syndrome in the way that it will they'll stargaze and they'll do the head tilt. These guys will actually fall over on their backs, and they can stumble, and it's not a good thing. Long story short. So just make sure that you guys are doing your research. That's the main point of this video, is to educate you guys, trying to protect this gecko from falling off. But guys, like I said, just do your research and make sure you know what you're doing with these animals. We're gonna move on to the spider. Alrighty guys, so to learn more about the spider gene in ball pythons, again, a morph, a mutation, a genetic mutation. This is a normal ball python here, and this is Donut. Had him for about 2 years now, and they're absolutely beautiful snakes, native to West Africa, and they generally make amazing pets. In captivity, we have bred them to look certain ways that are absolutely incredibly beautiful. You can see that with my banana ball python puzzle, and they are just bred to these gorgeous colors. But there is a trait, and there are several traits that do possess a bit of a neurological issue, and that's what I want to talk about today. Specifically, I want to focus on the spider issue. Similar to Enigma syndrome, it affects their motor skills. So for example, when you flip a spider ball python over, it's going to have a much slower reaction time than a normal ball python would. I'm going to show you guys that in this clip right on the screen here. Now these ball pythons, you're going to notice Donut very quickly rights himself back over. And the reason that he does that is because he knows that his underside can be exposed. That's, exposed to the environment, exposed to predators. And a ball python that does not have those motor issues is going to react very quickly to being turned over, because they do not want to be exposed. Now the issue with spiders primarily is that they have similar symptoms to Enigma geckos who have that syndrome. Spiders will head wobble, or they will flail their head. They have no depth or perception of their environment around them, and that's a really sad thing to see. I'm going to link some videos down below where you guys can see a spider ball python acting and displaying this gene. And it really is a very sad thing. Now, the first spider ball python, was brought about by Kevin McCurley at NERD, New England Reptile Distributors, in 1999. And he brought the first spider into the United States, and ever since then we've noticed this trait carrying this genetic abnormality. And these animals seem to be greatly affected by it. Now personally, I do not agree with the breeding of any animal where a genetic mutation sacrifices any part of their life, including their quality of life and their enrichment, their general enrichment and their happiness. I just don't believe in it. Now, I do know plenty of people who do breed and keep spider ball pythons, and I respect those people, but I do not respect the breeding of these animals, because it does sacrifice the animal's quality of life. Now, there are some spiders that are perfectly healthy, and I'm going to show a spider right on the screen right here, somewhere around here. And you're going to, they're a beautiful snake. They're an absolutely gorgeous snake. And I can definitely see why they'd be desired, but there should be a balance, and something that we should consider when we have an animal. We need to consider its quality of life, and that's the importance in keeping exotic animals, like all the ones you see behind me. Now guys, I do appreciate all of your support. I really hope we can come to a consensus about genetic mutations and neurological issues. Thank you guys for watching this episode of MOS Reptiles. If you guys have any better information or just quality information that you think I should see and other commenters should see, comment it down below. And I'll respond to every comment that we get. I appreciate all the support. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Stay curious, stay positive, love animals.